Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the June 2018 edition of the Montessori Show. I am Jeanne-Marie speaking to you from San Diego, and also Simone is here.
Hi everyone, Simone Davis from the Montessori Notebook calling in from Amsterdam. It's so lovely to join you all tonight. We've got a super sunny heat wave happening in Amsterdam, which never happens. So if you actually get shots of sunlight, don't be shocked. And by the time the call is done, it probably will be getting dark here. So lovely to see you all here on the call. So if you're joining us live on the call, you can write in the chat box where you're joining us from and the age of your children. We've got Clara joining us from Spain. Hi, Simone. Hi, Jeanne-Marie. And we've already got some people live on the call with us. So thank you so much for joining us. So today we've got a great topic. That's a very loud bike on your street.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm going to be playing with my unmute. For some reason, there is a lot of, I live close to a small little airport, and for some reason today there is a lot of activity. So it's been kind of noisy.
That's okay.
So
Welcome to Amy from Houston. Her daughter is 6 months old. And I was just about to say that today we're going to be talking about preparing ourselves as adults, using the Montessori approach with our families or perhaps your teachers as well. Because Dr. Montessori recognized that to just turn up and not be prepared is not going to work. We need to basically prepare ourselves first so that we can be available to support these lovely children of ours. So that's going to be our topic of conversation tonight. And we'd also like to unmute you at some point if you'd like to share the types of things you do to help yourselves stay calm, to be available, to stay present as we go through the call tonight. Veronique's joining us from Amsterdam, as 2.5 years old, and Sandra from Ontario, Montessori teacher. Welcome, Sandra. And Meely's joining us from Estonia. Her son is 3, turns 4 in August, and her daughter is 1 year and 8 months old. So welcome, everybody.
Yes, welcome, everybody. And you know, I always say when we work with parents that parenting is one of those things that we just do, and there's no, certification to become a parent and all of this. And so the preparation, I think is often, left to the side, where we prepare, maybe what we're going to buy or the decoration of our nursery or things like that. But there is such a spiritual preparation, as Dr. Montessori speaks about when she talks about the preparation of the teacher. She speaks about the spiritual preparation, and I think that is really about this inner work that we need to do. And unfortunately, I think we realize that maybe a little bit after a certain stage of our parenting. So if today we can, really share with you some of the ways that we have learned, or maybe some suggestions, and the sooner you become aware of that, I think the sooner you will really enjoy this beautiful journey that is called parenting.
And I think that I love Dr. Shafali's approach as well, that parenting becomes a spiritual journey, because as you probably experienced if you have young children, is they really show up to you what you need to work on yourselves. So things that you never realized were things that were issues for you, like letting go if you're a control kind of person, or what that you're really is, and how you can manage that. So what we can often see is what is triggering us and what can we work on to help ourselves be more available and, a better parent or a better adult or a teacher in their environment.
Yeah, and to that point, I am a firm believer that we get the children that we need, that are meant for that journey, that if maybe there's something that we've been really working on of letting go of, maybe we're control freaks or something, then we get this child that really like pushes those buttons for us to be able to let go of that, or organization or anything. I really I was coaching a mother the other day, and it was just so like vivid of how the things that she wanted to work on herself, that the children were just presenting, those tasks for her. So I think we really do, we really are gifted the children that we need for
Sandra in the
that.
chat box says, completely agree with that.
Yes.
Also, what I also really like is that they often say as well that the child actually chooses you. And I think that's also kind
exactly.
of, it's just like, don't challenge it. It's like you guys were sent to be with each other, to work on things together. So yeah, that's also really a beautiful way to think of it, is that, wow, this is a gift to learn this stuff. And I'm actually working a lot on shadow, which is the things you don't like about yourselves. And instead of ignoring them, actually embracing them and saying, oh, hello, shadow, hello, thing that I don't like. How can I work on that? What is it, a fear? And how can I, address this fear? It's kind of super interesting. And my kids are 17 and 16 years old. So I've had many years to work on it. And it's amazing the layers that keep getting pulled back every time they come up for us.
That's actually a great starting point. Simone, do you want to share a little bit more about what that entails, this shadow work?
Oh, I'm so new on this process, but
you've just discovered a tool that you feel you need, that you're working on. I know, I mean, we were having a conversation offline about how we're constantly searching for new tools or discovering new tools that complement either us as Montessori educators or as parents. And it sounds like you've just discovered something that is going to be helpful, and I personally would love to know a little bit more about it.
Sure. It was, it's just a little bit. So actually one of the fathers who come to my class says, you might want to check out, some work about, Carl Jung was the first to write about it, and his work's quite full on, but people have written about his work, and he talks about shadow, which is the parts of ourselves that, for someone like me, we push aside. We don't really talk about it very much because I'm a mostly positive person. So I kind of embrace all the bits I like about myself and don't really deal with the bits that I don't like so much. But with the shadow work, it came up like that I have sometimes a fear to be criticized, or that I want to be loved. And that can come up with my own children, like wanting to seek their confirmation that I'm doing a good job, which is not their role as a child. So it's really important for me to unpack it. And I will have to look up the name of the book. It's something like The Dark Side of the Light Chasers. Actually, okay. I think that's it. The Dark Side of the Light Chasers. And I'm halfway through the audiobook, and it has some exercises that you need to work through. And you get into a little bit of a hypnotic state, which reminds me a little bit of the theta work that you do, and you see what bubbles up to the top. And I haven't got very far. But anyway, I've just revealed all my insecurities on national TV, whatever this is. Yeah.
Perfect. That is one way of confronting it all, right? Just announce it to the world. Oh my goodness.
That's fine. Don't worry about the planes unless they're distracting you. But maybe we could open it up with, we did get a beautiful email in as well from one of the parents who wanted to share some of the preparation of the adult work that she did. And also a question came in before the call. And if you are live on the call, you're also welcome to drop questions into the chat box if you have a question or want to open it up to the group about how, this is what triggers me, or this is the thing I'm working on. Does anyone have any resources for me? So Jeanne-Marie, do you want to start by reading out the one from Karen?
Sure. And I also want to encourage all of you, all of the participants that are here to, you can unmute yourself. And if you want, you can also put your video camera on and just come on the show and share with us or ask any questions. So that's why we're now on Zoom, so that we can have this interaction. So feel free.
And because we are quite a large group, if that gets too chaotic, then we'll call people out from the chat box maybe.
Yes. So I am going to read this lovely note that came in from Carrie, who says that, hold on, let me see if I can see it all on my screen. That would be more helpful. Okay, I am so excited. I am so excited about this topic. I think about my heart as the prepared environment often. It was so freeing for me to discover the Enneagram to understand myself better as I identified, with my personality's numbers. Self-knowledge and self-love has been pivotal for me in this season of parenting young toddlers. As I read parenting books, attend online workshops, and learn more about the Montessori approach to guiding the child, I also consider my inner child. I was raised in a traditional, punitive, very broken home environment. So when I read books like No Bad Kids, Toddler Discipline Without Shame, or The Montessori Toddler, I read the words for myself as a parent and also over myself as a toddler who was misunderstood and misguided. I hope that makes sense. It sure does, Carrie. And what a beautiful share. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that, but I will finish reading this, but just beautiful. And physically making time for myself in the morning has been very helpful lately. I'm at home full time and with my son. So in order to give them the attention and environment they need physically in the home and emotionally, I first need to fill myself up with some self-care and love. I do a 10 to 15 minute yoga practice each morning and then take a shower. I find it really beneficial to meditate while I'm in the shower. Sometimes I just stop while the water washes over me. I will place my hand on my heart and feel gratitude for everything: the water, the window in the shower, the sunlight, the trees, my family, etc. And I just hold gratitude for as long as I can. Sometimes I listen to a guided meditation. Louise Hayes has a lot of great ones on YouTube. And then if I begin to spiral down during the day, we play outside. Thank you for choosing this topic. I'm so excited to soak up the wisdom from you and Jeanne-Marie. Wonderful share, Carrie, and so beautiful. And it's something that I want to talk a little bit more about is this understanding of how we have to kind of look at our own childhood. And you know, Carrie, you're doing such an amazing job of speaking to yourself, to that toddler that was misunderstood. But, you know, like Simone and I were talking offline a little bit before, it's also this work of forgiveness that I think is really important. Is our parents parented us with the tools that they had at the moment, and I, you know, strongly believe in my heart that they did try the very best they could, and they brought their own childhood baggages to the show. So we have to be able to let go of that, forgive, and really nurture that, you know, that child that might have been broken at that time, and really nurture them now today so that we can be fully present for our own children. Thank you for sharing that. That was beautiful.
Carrie also mentioned Enneagrams, and Enneagram is kind of like a personality test that you can do. I haven't done it myself, but you can basically see what kind of person you are. And this self-understanding is a big part of that, because if you know that you're this kind of person and your child is this kind of person, then you are able to say, okay, I'm not going to be able to change my child's personality, so how can I work with them to have a more peaceful family, or one that is calmer, or if they're outgoing and I'm a calmer, how am I going to work together? So for example, if you have a busy child and you're someone who prefers to relax with a book, maybe you need to go to the park and find somewhere where you can count the number of times they chase around the tree, and vice versa. If they're more the one that want to curl up with the book, they might have a stopwatch and be timing you as you run around. And sometimes you have a child that actually has a similar personality to you, which can actually almost be even more confronting, because the things that trigger you are the things that you don't like about yourself. So that can have its own thing. And I had a parent today in class who was saying that her daughter was very expressive, very angry. And when I talked to her about that, that's her way of expressing her emotion, and it's not likely to change, and how can you manage it? She was kind of shocked, like, can't I take the anger away from her? And it's like, maybe not. That might be the way that she expresses, where her frustrations, and the way it can be lifelong, but we can model and show our child how we can do that in an appropriate way. Like, I can't let you hit me, but here's some pillows that you can throw and bang, or here's a corner where you can go and relax until you calm again, and different things like that.
Yes. Do you want to touch on the question that I think came in, that was where you can elaborate that about the communication, the
Yeah,
triggers?
definitely. I'll read out the question for you. This is from Amanda. She's been following us since the very first show, which is very cool. She reminded us it's been over 2 years, so that's very super fun. She says she loves this topic and needs some reminders and methods to be sure to control myself when my buttons are continuously pushed. I have a 4.5-year-old boy, a 2 3/4-year-old girl, and a 5-day-old boy. He was born healthy and at home last Sunday.
Oh.
Anyway, as this new addition joins our family, I find that this behavior is escalating, as well as my responses to them. I know we all still need time to acclimate, but I find one of the most difficult things is setting parameters with regard to the new baby here, and then enforcing them, or when those parameters are crossed, deciding on a repercussion. In regard to the same crossing of parameters, when to maybe ignore or not, because often my little ones will just do enough to defy, but not all the way. What do you do when they push the limits, but they don't quite all the way across them? I hope this makes a little sense. I still have a baby birthing hormone brain. So that one's from Amanda in Kansas. Would you like to start?
Well, I mean, for one, I just want to remind you that pushing limits and testing limits is their job. Like, that's what they need to do. That's that they're needing us to be there for them, to hold that space for them, to really show them what those whoops, I'm going to mute Simone, what those limits are. And so it's about, whether they're hold on, I unmuted you. Okay, there we are. That is their job. So understanding that and being there for them to really let them kind of, see how far it goes, and always with loving kindness, but firmness of, it's always that I love you and I can't let you do that. Or it's not that you can't, because as we know, when we tell a child you can't, they're like, but I'm doing it right now, right? They don't understand that. So it's really about us taking the control and being the captain of the ship and saying, I love you and I can't let you do that. But look at what you can do. Like, being in the yes of showing them what they can do is really important. And that I really sincerely don't believe that they intentionally are wanting to push limits and intentionally wanting to upset us. They're just trying to figure out what are the limits, what is their place here and such. And this is where we need to hold steady and loving and just let them know what those are.
Yeah, they're basically, particularly with a new baby in town, telling our town in your family that they're telling you there's something not right in their world. There's been a huge upheaval and a big change. So the behavior can escalate. And actually what's super interesting as well is the point that she brings up about they're not even sometimes crossing the limit, but they're seeing how far they can go. And so maybe even at that point, we don't even need to set a limit, because we want to limit how many times we're saying no, no, no all the time, but instead translating for them, oh, it looks like you want to interact with the baby. The baby likes it when we do this. And so already stepping in and guiding that behavior right before it actually escalates more can be useful to give them information about, oh, look, the baby's smiling now, and that can be a really positive thing. And also when they do say, I hate the baby, rather than saying, you don't hate the baby, and trying to brush over it, it's really acknowledging their feelings. Okay, stopping. Are you are you finding it hard to share the time with us? Or, yeah, come and talk to me. Here, come and sit on my lap. Or, oh, you really wanted some help right now, and I'm changing the baby. As soon as, put your hand on my shoulder, and as soon as we're finished, I'm going to sit down and read that book that you'd like. Can you hold the book for me? And getting them involved that way. Another really nice thing with the new baby is, you may not have as much time to spend with the older ones, but you can talk about the older ones as you're doing the daily care on the infant. So for example, if you're feeding the baby, you could say, oh, and look at Josh, he's pushing the ball across there, and they love being like commentated about, so they feel involved that way. So it's not always going to help, but it can definitely give them a feeling of being included, even when things don't feel so right in their world.
That and I would also encourage you to involve them as much as you can. So, hopefully maybe have a tamponcino, for example, or something that they can hold the baby like as much as you can. And I know this is brand new, 5-day old, but asking, oh, I think, the baby needs a little burp cloth or a change of diaper. Would you mind getting it for me? And really, because even with the 4.5-year-old, there was 4 years with my two. And my daughter was just so helpful with her little brother. And that to me really took away any of the, maybe insecurities or jealousy and such, because I really gave her an important role. Like I needed her to help me. And she later, which to me, I mean, I still think is so beautiful, she was her brother's translator to me, because there were times when, especially in that pre-verbal stage where I was like, what does he want? I don't get it. She always knew what her little brother needed, because I think they're just, closer in age. They understand each other's language better and everything. So as much as you can to involve them in the care of the baby, not impose it, not force it, but, if you see that opportunity to give them that significance of caring for their new little baby brother, I think will really help as well.
And there was one comment as well that she said she's looking for what kind of repercussions there could be if they cross the limit with a new baby. And I guess repercussions is another word for consequences. And so saying that, oh, if you're not gentle with the baby, then we take away the ice cream at dessert time sometime much later. It's not going to be as effective, because to them, the two aren't even related. It's very difficult for them to see that there's a natural consequence. So what we try to do is, if there's a natural consequence or a logical consequence, but like a logical thing for them to make it up to a baby that's crying is like, oh, the baby's sad. Or maybe, a red mark on their cheek, so let's get a cold cloth for that. So in suggesting ways that you can make it up to the baby once they're calm, because if they actually have hit or struck the baby and they need to calm down, first we need to help them calm down, and then once you kind of hear them sigh and release it, then they're usually available to make amends and make it up. So I would look for things that relate to what's happened. If the baby's crying, how can we help the baby? If something got broken, a rattle or something else, how can we fix it? How can we take responsibility? So we're showing them not that they can get away with anything. We empathize that it's difficult for them, and yet we show them how they can take responsibility and make amends.
And always keeping that I think that tone of, I'm here to keep everybody safe as well, so that if there is, an interaction that you feel is unsafe for the newborn, for example, to really, say, I love you and I know you want to play with your baby brother, and, it's frustrating that they can't run after you or whatever, but I have to keep everybody safe, and I can't let you touch them in this manner or hit or whatever they're doing. But this is, this is a passage. This is an adjustment for everybody. Their order, your availability, all of that has changed. So it's important to just have the patience that we need, and please get some extra support if you feel that that's what you need as well, because having 3 little ones at home under 5 is a lot. So.
And one thing that I think, regardless of whether you have a new baby or not at home, that something people can take away from this question is to set limits early, so that if you have the child, they're playing with the baby, and you feel like, oh, that's nice. And then all of a sudden you start to feel uncomfortable because it's getting too much. I always say set a limit early. So step in and say, oh, I thought it was okay with you playing with me like that, but now I see that it's pulling at their neck. I've changed my mind. It's better to say I've changed my mind in that moment. They're not going to be happy about letting go, rather than waiting till thinking, okay, I'll let it go. And then you snap because, and you've triggered yourself. So that's something that I think helps us stay calm and be that more compassionate parent that we want to try and be as a Montessori parent.
Yes. Yes. Anybody have any questions or something that they would like to share of how they manage their triggers, or maybe some of the kind of self-care that you have discovered works for you?
We can unmute you and you can tell us live.
Yes. I just don't know why everybody's camera is completely off. So I think I must have done something because all of the cameras are off. So if you want to turn on your camera, you're more than welcome.
Karen's got a hand up. I wonder how we can make that happen.
So, and I don't.
Do you have the?
Do I have what?
There's at the bottom you can manage the participants, and you can unmute Carrie. Maybe here's Carrie. Can you unmute her? Hi, Carrie. I see you now.
Carrie, where is she? Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
Hi.
Oh, hey. So I didn't actually mean to raise my hand, but I do have a thing I do when I get triggered, so I can share it.
Okay. And thank you for your beautiful share that you sent in. That was really lovely of, this understanding of our inner child, of how important it is so thank you.
Sure, yeah. Thank you guys so much for talking about this topic. I feel like it's just very important for young mamas or guides or just anyone dealing with children. So when I get triggered, I like to go quality time. I'll just breathe out, and that kind of helps release like any anxiety I'm feeling in like my chest and my throat. I might even like put my hand where I'm feeling anger or anxiety or worry or fear or whatever it is, and I breathe it out. And sometimes I'll imagine I use my imagination a lot. Sometimes I will imagine it as black smoke, and then I will say quality time, and the black smoke will turn into butterflies.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah.
It's just a nice visual for me, and it just gives me that tiny bit of space for myself so that I can kind of reset my perspective, empathize with my child who is not intentionally trying to make me crazy, because you feel that first, and then you just have to just take one little minute. So I do a deep exhale, and I say quality time, because those are the moments where I feel like it's real quality time. It is quality time when it's joyful and you're playing with your child and you're connecting, but it's like real quality time when it's a hard moment and you just want to kick and scream and pull all your hair out, but you don't. Mm-hmm. And you then connect with your child. So that's what I do.
Thank you. That is beautiful, and so important to have those tools or mantras or whatever works for you, and also being aware of what works for our children. I think we do this when we do positive discipline workshops. We always ask, what calms you, what calms your child, and then how to be always prepared and have kind of, tools in our bag to be able to calm ourselves or calm our child. So beautiful. Thank you for that, Carrie. Wonderful. Anybody else would like to share? So that was great. I don't know how that all happened, but you made it happen, Simone. Thank you.
That's no problem. And I think the visualizing can really help too. I often talk to parents about visualizing themselves as a rock. So sometimes they feel like, okay, I'm the one that's solid here, and my child needs me to, be the one that's not getting triggered by the situation, that I've got this. So visualizing being a rock. Some people we've talked about being in a marshmallow, because sometimes you need a little bit of a buffer. And so instead of reacting straight away, if there's actually not immediate danger, like a child falling or touching something dangerous, is if I actually even just observe for 3 seconds, maybe this situation will change and I've got a moment to think about it. So it's creating that pause before we react, which observation can be really useful for.
Yes.
Which we talked about in past Montessori shows.
Yes. But a lovely reminder is that observation is about observing what is going on without judgment, without expectation, without, saying, oh, he's in a bad mood or, he's angry. It's just really observing what is going on. And most importantly, is observing what's going on for us. And sometimes, when we do have a trigger or something that upsets us, to just observe that it is upsetting us and not necessarily like letting ourselves get upset, but just making a mental note of like, okay, that was, that was quite of a trigger, and kind of putting it aside so that you can go back, deal with the situation with, taking your deep breath or like Carrie shared, breathing out, quality time, and then yes, definitely go back to that observation of what was upsetting you, what was a trigger, so that you can work that out, whether through meditation or journaling or whatever it is. So paying attention to those triggers, I think, is important, without judgment. Again, without judgment, just making a mental note of it.
Yeah. I just put a note in the chat box if anyone else would like to be brave and share what they do. But in the meantime, speaking of meditation, I think like some things that both of us do is some early morning rising, taking some time for ourselves before the children wake. And that is even possible with young children, or if it's not predictable in your household what time your children wake up, is finding a moment in the day, whether it's soaking in the bath in the evening and meditating there, or just having nothing to think about, or reading a book, whatever it lights you up. But allowing some moments in the day, because when we have a full tank, we can actually be a better parent to our children. And it sometimes has to be creative. Sometimes you don't have the money for a babysitter. So can you do a swap with a friend, so that you have some space that you're looking forward to doing your own thing, so when you come back to your child. And if you used to be really creative before your children were born, and you might be really missing that, so how can you be creative with the children? Or how can you find a space in your house that is just for you to do your creative projects? Or do you need to leave the house? And everyone will react in different ways. So I really like that too.
Yes, definitely. And I know we had mentioned that I would share a little bit of kind of some of the things that I have discovered along the way. And one of them is theta healing. And theta healing is it's an energy healing modality that I have come across really through, again, self-care that I realized I needed. I actually had some physical issues after being in the classroom 1 year with a particular child that was just giving me a lot of anxiety. Like I would actually literally not sleep at night because I just did not know how to help this child, and I wasn't getting the support I needed and so forth. And it translated into a frozen shoulder that was painful and all of this. And I didn't know that at the time, but I worked with an acupuncturist who made me realize that this is how I had kind of bottled up this anxiety or this stress. And so one of my self-care is I go monthly to see an acupuncturist, which is just delightful because it's a way to really release a lot of the stress that we hold in our body. But through that, this acupuncturist shared with me theta healing, which is really the practice of understanding that we have different brain waves. We think and we meditate and all this in different brain waves, and there's actually 5 of them, and theta being one of them, which is the 7th. Sorry, I'm getting confused. But yes, it's a way of being in really a very kind of, not a trance, but a really deep meditation. And so I have a guided meditation that I've learned to do on myself on a daily basis, which is really a very quick way of releasing any negative thoughts or any negative things that might have happened. I release them, and I ground myself. Or if there's any like thoughts that are dispersed, I bring them all back. And so it's just a way for me to really ground myself, to know that I'm always supported by Mother Earth, by the universe, by this unconditional love that we all have access to. And it has been amazing for me. And now I'm actually a certified theta healer, where I can actually use this to work with parents. And I have found it super helpful, especially for parents who, have kind of these deep-rooted triggers, or maybe kind of, childhood, not traumas, but I'm thinking in particular of a mom who really wants to let go of always being scared that her children will get hurt. And when we talked about it, it was, that's all she ever heard from her parents is, don't do that, you're going to get hurt. So at some point, being able to get into that kind of unconscious brainwave that we have, and being able to let go of that, and being able to forgive anything that was being done. So that has been my practice. That has been really a wonderful way of taking care of myself.
That's beautiful.
Mm.
Just saw something coming in the chat room, which says, from Mealy, I've been dealing with a lot of aggression since our second child was born. The toddler was back then 2 years, 2 months old, and now he's almost 4. And I see that he doesn't attack his sister as often anymore, but I'm still struggling with them starting to hit me whenever I try to set a limit or dare to say no to anything. I have often lost my loving kindness. I am often tired, and that sets the trigger a lot faster as well. So I've started telling him about how I expect him to behave instead of being mindful and attending to his feelings. It's taken me 25 years to learn about my own aggression and how to deal with it, and still learning. I'd like to help him learn a little bit earlier, but it's hard.
So this is again, acknowledging. I mean, you're doing great work by observing your child, by observing yourself, what is triggering you and such. And this again is as much as we can try, maybe not to say no so much, but to really, like, when if he is being aggressive, is really holding him with firmness, with love, and saying, I cannot let you do that. Because it's about us being there for them, to be the ones that are holding that space for them, and to really, remember that he's learning to have, self-regulate and everything. And I know in one of our shows that we talked about positive discipline also is maybe creating a space where he can start to learn to pay attention to what his body is telling him. Our body is very wise, and our body kind of gives us warning signs that we are about to get angry or such. And if we can help him understand that he's getting a message, and when he gets that message, to have a place to be able to explode, or to, punch a pillow, or whatever he needs to do. But again, it's something to kind of put together with the child, because I do believe that children have all of the solutions within them, and we need to ask them what would help you feel better, or I've noticed that you get angry when this and this happens, and I've noticed that you hit hard, and I cannot let you do that. I need to keep everybody safe. So what else can we do? And really asking him, and you will be surprised at what he comes up with.
Yeah, I think the calm place is really good. And like in the that's, you can definitely have that conversation when he's calm and not in the moment when he's upset. But in the moment that he's upset, then you're like, I'm not allowed, I can't let you hit me. Would you like to go to your calm place to calm down? This is this place that you've created that's snuggly and cozy, in a place where he can observe his body. And if he doesn't want to go, well, I can go with you and we'll calm down together. And if he doesn't want to come, then like, I might go to the calm place. And then you're modeling that you're starting to get irritated. And actually, as you actually have had the aggression things yourself, being the model, like what we say to our children is one part of it, but actually how we are and how we show up and go, oh, wow, I'm feeling really aggressive and I don't know how, okay, now I'm going to, and you're talking him through. One thing it's nice is it's like you can actually also commentate yourself and how you're calming down and what you're doing to address it. And that is going to make a really big impression on him. Wow, yeah, mum managed that really big emotion, and it's really powerful as well. So
Yeah.
Amelia, I hope that helps. And sounds like, you are tired. So getting care for ourselves is like a big part of it. Really, really big part of it. Yeah, definitely.
So, as much as you can, if during nap time, if you can just, my apologies for the sound, if you can, lay down too. I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves of what needs to get done and everything. And I think the priority is really that self-care. So when your children are having a quiet moment, or if they're napping, nap. Take time. The dishes can wait, the laundry can wait. Maybe ask for external help, your parenting partner, a friend, or hire help to take care of those other things that you feel should get done but aren't getting done. Or I know that it's not super ecological, but once in a while, if use paper plates, it's not the end of the world. Like you've got to do sometimes what is necessary to fill up your tank, to get the rest that you need and such, to be able to deal with 3 little ones. So,
and Carrie makes a good point as well. Like, let's just get outside then. If all is going bad,
exactly,
let's all take ourselves outside. That's going to make everyone feel a lot better. So change the scenery. When things go wrong and you feel like, okay, I got angry, I also didn't show up the best way. I also think apologizing, like, oh, what I should have said is, or what I should have done is. And that's also a beautiful lesson, again, modeling what we would like them to do as they get older. And then to brainstorm, write it down in a notebook, because in that moment, you're not going to come up with a solution, but you'll know for next time, because they'll definitely next time. That's one thing about our children, is they're always one step ahead of us. And so then definitely have lots of practice, and there'll be another time to practice it, another time, okay, it didn't go so well today, and what I'm going to try and do is this. Also, there was a parent who used to come to my classes who had a brother who was a pilot, and they have something in their pilot training which is about a chain of error. And basically they're training pilots to get off a chain of error, because often what happens is one thing goes wrong, and then the next thing goes wrong, and then it can lead to a really bad accident. So they train the pilot to recognize that the first thing's gone wrong, but I'm not going to go down that path where things have got to get worse. And so the sister of the pilot had basically applied the same principle to her parenting, which I thought was brilliant. So say your morning isn't going as planned and everyone's really frustrated. She visualizes the children all sitting at the kitchen table where she wants them to be before they leave the house, and just needs to get to that point so that it keeps her on track, kind of like on her flight path. And yeah, she said it often just, I think sometimes it's the recognition that this isn't going right and I'm reacting instead of responding right now, and can bring you back. So we're giving you lots of visuals, lots of ideas today. Take one that might just like, oh, that is what come out tomorrow when frustrations are getting pretty high at those ends. Another thing that also really helps me not get involved in what's going on with my kids is to, like we talked about before, as we commentate on what's going on for us, we can commentate on what's happening for the children. So Janet Lansbury talks about sports casting. And so she says, oh, you really want that toy, and you really want that toy too. And you're so showing perspective of the other child that you don't need to get in and solve it necessarily. And it gives you a bit of space to observe it, because you're using neutral, objective language as you describe the situation. And then you might be able to, big picture, come up with some more helpful response as opposed to reacting. So I think we have some regular themes coming back. It's like self-care, look after ourselves when we're not tired. Can we make space so that we can respond rather than react? And one thing I mentioned to Jeanne-Marie earlier is that when I arrive in my classroom, part of my preparation as an adult is putting on my apron to prepare myself. Like, okay, I'm available now, I'm present, I'm in my class, I'm letting go of anything that, came up for me this morning at home, and I'm here right now. And then as I finish my classes and I cycle home, I'm very lucky actually to have a cycle ride. I can process, let go of anything I need so that when I walk in the door, I'm now available to my family and myself. So I think actually sometimes we need to be conscious. Maybe you actually even put on an apron or something that makes you think, yes, now I'm ready and available to show up as the best parent I can be.
Yes, no, that's wonderful. And also the point of modeling how we want our children to react, I think is super important. So hopefully that was, somebody did theta healing session and felt very calm about 1 week afterwards. It was about healing the child in the womb, myself in my mom's womb, and then discussed about myself in childhood. It was quite intense for me, and I also burst out crying during the session. Yes, totally. I have been there. It is pretty intense because it is really about connecting really to higher consciousness and, being revealed of things that had happened, or, great way to do forgiveness work, or any repairs that need to be done, and all of that. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. It is, and it's funny because the person that I work with has told me that because now I have gotten better with theta healing and everything, that I should really work on communicating with the children, because children can tell us what they need in this when you are in the theta brainwave, if you are open to hearing or seeing or whatever, and to really ask what the child needs from their parents. So that's what I'm working on to be able to support families even more. That's wonderful.
Anka has a beautiful story that she's just put in the chat box. But Anka, would you be willing to maybe come on live?
Yes.
Anka, are you there? Otherwise, I'll read it out. It's up to you.
Because let me try to unmute her.
Oh, she can't talk.
Can talk. Okay, that's fine.
So we'll read it out. And basically it says, today before nap time, I started getting anxious, but didn't say or do anything. After my 9-month-old fell asleep, I went to my almost 3-year-old and he asked me, are you calm now? And I was surprised and told him that I was. And then he asked, what did you do? Did you take deep breaths? And I'm still amazed with my children every day. They're extremely observant. And I was actually telling a parent exactly the same thing, is that my son can tell me that I'm getting upset before I even recognize myself that I'm getting upset. Very intuitive children, can be really hateful. Like, what's going on, Mom? Why are you feeling like, why have you got that face on? You're like, oh yeah, you're right. I am starting to feel triggered. Okay. And it's really useful. So if you have a kid who's intuitive, that can be because sometimes you get down in this rabbit hole before you even recognize yourself that something has upset you and you just need to communicate it. I love toddlers because they have a tantrum, but then after that is out, they go back to being their joyful selves. And we forget that as adults and we kind of lock it all in. And if anything, we're probably better off on those days that we wake up and we feel terrible to say, you know what, I'm feeling terrible today. I don't know why. It's nothing that you guys have done, but I just might need a little bit more time. I might be slower. I might be a bit grumpy, and I'm really sorry. And then as long as it's not every day, then, they sometimes can be actually more helpful leaving the house and recognizing that we also need to be taken care of sometimes.
Yes, definitely. I know when I'm feeling that, I just say, I need to go for a walk. And I literally just, go for a short walk around the block, just being outside and will calm me back down. So,
yeah. And if you have young children, that's not always possible, but if there is someone else in the house who can take over, it's going to, can you take over right here? We've talked before about translating for our other parents and things who are in the house. So if you see the other parent getting really upset, you're like, oh, it looks like, they're really upset about this. If I can help, let me know. And you can also translate for them. It sounds like they want to tell you this. Saira, do you have a question? You've got your hand raised. I'm not sure if you bumped a button or not, but let's see if we can find you. Can you find Saira on the call?
Yes. Unmute.
So
hi, Sarah.
Join the call.
We can hear you.
It might be a mistake.
Sarah?
She's not there.
No, okay. I will mute her back. So yeah, and I think that if you want to speak, you can actually unmute yourself and just, or I don't know about I'm learning Zoom, so it's wonderful to be able to interact with everybody, which was different than the YouTube, but still a learning in process.
We have a very quiet group today, which is also fine. It's getting to the summer, and we are all maybe more tired. That's okay. You can just listen and enjoy and soak in some wisdom. And I hope that something comes out tomorrow that maybe will be helpful. You'll remember maybe, to breathe out, or, Anka's son reminding her that, yeah, did you do your breath? And that they're observing and they're watching everything and how we handle frustration as well. I have a beautiful parent who says that her eldest son was a great teacher for her, and that she realized how much she needed to let go. And so it's taught her a lot. And basically also this child is a perfectionist. And so she has to practice failing so that she can model that it doesn't matter when things don't always go the right way. She goes, another chance to practice. Look, I got it wrong again. And, it sounds silly, but at the same time, they really pick up what goes on for us. And we have to be so observant. Like if we bake a cake and it flops and we're really disappointed, it's like, well, actually, this can just be a learning experience for all of us. It's like, oh, okay, the cake didn't turn out well, man. I'm a human. I feel disappointed right now. And I also know it's not the end of the world. So we're talking them through what comes up for us.
Yes. And Barbara just shared something that is to that point, is that she says, I find a lot of things that trigger my daughter that used to trigger me as a child, and it can really calm her down when I talk to her about these. For example, she really doesn't like dressing up, and I remember to have the same frustration. And when I tell her that, I completely understand her, as I had the same problem, and I give her examples on how I dealt with it. That is beautiful, because it's true. It's like, sharing, and this is true with this is what empathy is, right? Is to be able to let the person know, I feel your pain. I'm there with you. I understand, and to be able to give them solutions, and that they're not alone in feeling this frustration. So yes, so true. Beautiful. Thank you, Barbara, for sharing that.
I think this is also a perfect reminder, is that we do not have to be perfect parents. We're trying to be the best parents we can be. We want to be the most supportive we can be, but we're also human, and we can't be perfect, and we're modeling imperfection every day and get a chance to, apologize. And yeah, it's definitely a process. And even one parent said to me, that they wish that they'd done a lot more work before they'd had children. And it's like, it's never going to be a perfect time. We're never finished. And actually that would be very boring if we had learned all our lessons, young in our life. We will be learning into our 80s and 90s.
So Mariana says, my girls just went to sleep. I'm so depressed about losing these 2 hours each day to put them to sleep. Well, today it was almost an hour. So good. It's getting shorter. But this is something to maybe work on. And maybe, I don't know how old your daughters are, Mariana, but really ask them again for their help. That sleep is definitely a tough subject, and so different and so personal for so many. But I'm just a really firm believer, 2 and 4, okay, that how asking for their help of, sleep is something that we all do, that is important to us. This is how we are happy, and our brain grows and everything. How can I help you be able to go to sleep on your own every day, because it's something that we all have to do. And so it's really about, for me, for one thing, is keeping things super simple. We tend to accumulate different sequences in our routines, and so I like to keep things super simple, or and such, and to really ask them for their help in creating a simpler routine, and also being okay with, you don't have to wait until they fall asleep sometimes, but that's a whole other topic. Sorry. Simone, do you have anything for Mariana here?
Yeah, a couple of things came up for me, and it's like the sleeping thing is difficult, and we're moving towards a process where we can help them as little as possible, but as much as necessary. And so if it's taking a lot of time, like looking at how you can start to remove yourself from the situation, whether it's sitting next to them, if they share a room, what is the problem? Are they waking each other up? Or can you come up with, like, it's okay for you to be resting, you can have your book and I'm not actually going to sit in there. Or if you feel like you really do want to be available to your child to help them get to sleep, to look at that as connection time. It's not a waste of 2 hours. It's 2 hours of connection with your child. So maybe just changing the mindset is, I'm making this choice. I really want to be sitting with my child. Then it doesn't feel like a burden, and it feels like an honor. So the thing is that it's only a problem when it's not meeting your needs. So it makes me feel like it's probably time to change things. Like Jeanne-Marie was saying, like, how can we make this situation better? I quite like Kim West's approach, which Jeanne-Marie has interviewed her in some of the Be the Best Parent You Can Be, where she talks about having a chair and that you sit and you're not interacting with them, but then you start to, over a series of days, move your chair back further so that eventually your chair is outside the door, those kind of things. Vero has some beautiful comments in the chat. It's like, today my kid was really upset and I tried the "can you draw me" approach when he started hitting me, but I did it wrong. I said, do you want to show me how angry you are? Is it like that or is it like that? And he said, no, angry. And then he looked sad. So I asked if he was sad and he said, yes, sad. And we drew sadness together. And that was cute and funny how he corrected me on his feelings. And that's what I really love, Vero, is like, yeah, you can actually just guess their feelings, and it doesn't matter if you get it wrong, because they're like, no, I'm not angry, I'm sad. Look, it looks like this. And, he corrected it. So that's really beautiful. Mariana says, thanks. Neely says, Marianne, I know the feeling. One thing that helps is to remember that this is, in the bigger picture, a brief period of time which will pass. It helps me think of something else that was difficult and then notice, oh, that actually passed. And indeed, it often does.
Yes.
Which I think is actually probably a beautiful place to pause the call, because we're coming to the hour, as they would say. Yes. It has been super lovely to connect with you all. This will be our last Montessori show before the summer break here. So our next call, mark your diaries, is the 31st of August. Because you're now signed up to receive the link, you'll automatically get a reminder the week before where you can join us in the topic that we will choose, so that you can join us and share any questions you have. And Jeanne-Marie, you were telling me that you've started doing some home audits where you give people feedback on setting up their home.
Yes. I have been, I do a lot of kind of longer consultations and coaching and such, but I've had more and more families asking me just for suggestion and advice on what they've already set up or what they're looking to set up in a nursery. So I'm calling it my personalized a Montessori home assessment. And basically you can send in, at least 10 photos of the different areas that you need some feedback on. And then we have a Skype call like this where I share my screen and really give you, some suggestions of how to change the environment or not. Like I have one later this afternoon that it's a beautiful environment. I don't know what I'm going to say because it's already amazing. But so if you're interested in that, I will put the link in the email that Simone will be sending out.
Perfect. And just to give you all a heads up, if you're watching this live this weekend, there's a little summer sale happening over on my website. So it's all about there's 25% off at the moment, my self-study e-course. So it's all about setting up your home Montessori style at the moment, getting ready for summer. It's a good time to clear out. So if you are interested, I'll drop the link into the email as well. You can jump over to the website and take a look.
And also, for August 31st and any other shows, if there are some topics that you would really like us to touch on, we are definitely open for suggestions. So if there's some things that you're wanting to know more about or are struggling with, we would love to hear your suggestions for topics for the Montessori Show.
And before we leave, Anka also just has one last comment in the chat box, which it says, it helps both my husband and myself to always say to ourselves, he's asking for my help now. Whenever my son starts misbehaving or getting angry, we observe that our answer then is much calmer and empathetic. Yeah, empathic. Yeah, totally.
Beautiful. Yeah, very good.
Now,
wonderful.
Everyone, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to sign off, say goodbye from Amsterdam. Happy summer, winter if you're in the Southern Hemisphere. And we will look forward to seeing you in August. And you too, Jeanne-Marie.
Yes, wonderful seeing everybody. And you're all doing amazing. And I just love all the comments and the shares. So wonderful. Thank you.